Welcome into another edition of NBA Sound System Canada. Gil McGregor here, riding solo this week. Couldn't get the schedules right with me and my guy, Kyle Irving. That's because mostly the NBA Finals schedule has been all over the place. And had we recorded normally, it would have been before Game 4 of the series, which was Friday night. And we would have hated to have missed the opportunity to react to that Game 4 because what a Game 4 it was. Before we get into that, as always, appreciate all of you who subscribe to the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, and who have found us on YouTube and Instagram. NBA Sound System Canada is the handle. Recording here hours after the end of Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Series is now tied 2-2. It's a best of three. It's been a while since we last talked. We previewed the series coming into it. Pacers steal game one in crazy fashion. Thunder bounced back as we all expected them to. Pacers then, behind their home crowd, take care of home court in game three. But in game four, it was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The MVP did MVP things. Wasn't there. I'm watching the game from my home in Charlotte, North Carolina. But those who were there, read a column this morning, you could sense it. It was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's time to put up or shut up, basically. Goes into the fourth quarter with 20 points. The Thunder are down by 7. Season's on the line here. You cannot fall down 3-1 in the NBA Finals. The only person that's ever done that was LeBron James to come back from that 3-1. That's the last thing the Thunder wanted to deal with. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 15 points in the fourth, all in the last 5 minutes of the final frame. And the big moments were when OKC is down 4, they can't get a shot to go through the net. Shai almost seemingly willed in a three-pointer to cut the deficit to 1 point. Next offensive possession, a couple of offensive possessions after that, step back jumper to give them their first lead of the second half. Say what you want about the contact there, the footwork there, but it was just big clutch buckets after big clutch bucket from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Tip of the cap to Chet Holmgren. Big defensive stance for him. Finished with 14 points, 15 rebounds. Jalen Williams for OKC, 27 points. 12 of them came in the first quarter. So he kind of was the starter for them, and Shai was the finisher. And that we might look back as a signature moment for this season that he's put together for his career if the Thunder are able to use this momentum from the Game 4 win to win the rest of the series. A lot of basketball left to be played, but it is kind of following that blueprint of what we saw between the Thunder and the Nuggets during the second round when Denver stole game 1, the Thunder bounced back. Denver takes care of business in the first game at home, and then the Thunder dig deep and find a way to win. I remember after that game, it was May 11th. I tweeted that it feels like the Thunder found something and learned how to win ugly. And game 4 was ugly. Talking about the fact that they only dished out 10 assists for the game. That is their lowest total regular season or postseason. And this postseason, they had 3 games with 20 or fewer assists. They lost all of them before game 4 of the finals. 3 of 16 from 3 for the game. They were outscored by 24 points from beyond the arc. Just the third team in NBA Finals history to win a game when being outscored by 24 or more points from beyond the arc. So the Thunder, again, dug deep, found a way to do it. Kudos to them. Kudos to Alex Caruso coming off the bench. Second 20-point game off the bench in this series. Had 0 20-point games all in the regular season. First player in NBA history to have 2 games of 20-plus in the finals after having 0 such games in the regular season. And I think the biggest thing taken from this, and those of you who listen to me and say this series is going to go over 5.5 games, you're welcome. If you didn't, sorry, maybe listen to me next time. But never count out this Pacers team. So it's easy to sit here and say that the Thunder dug deep and found a way to defeat the Pacers, and the Pacers should be demoralized. But what we've learned about them throughout these playoffs is that they could be down like they were in game 1 of this series, down like they were against the Cavs and the Knicks and the Bucks. And they're not going to give up. They're not going to give in. They're not going to quit. They don't have home court anymore, but it is just the best of 3. You have to figure out a way to get one more in Oklahoma City to win a championship. It's not going to be easy, and you have to do hard things. It feels like a series that's going to go the distance and go 7 games. We talked about this when we previewed the series, but I don't know. It does for me. There are some similarities and things that feel like the 2015 NBA Finals, where the Cavaliers took that 2-1 series lead, and it really felt like they were going to just get over the hump and figure it out. And then the Warriors made a starting lineup change in game 4. So did the Thunder. They put Isaiah Hartenstein back in the starting lineup. he wasn't in the starting lineup for the first 3 games of the series. They tried Casey Wallace, and it worked to a certain extent, but they found a deficit. They switched something up, and Hartenstein wasn't great in game 4. But going back to what they were doing for the first 3 rounds, which I don't necessarily know if they should have changed from in the first place, it was a catalyst for change in game 4. And I don't expect the Thunder to shoot that poorly again. I got some flashbacks to what they did against the Bucks in the NBA Cup championship. Their offense was stagnant because they couldn't hit shots, and the defense, or the opposing defense, could just pack the paint and keep the court small. And that affects guys like Shai and Jalen Williams, their ability to operate as drivers downhill. When the court is small, you can't do what you do in those instances. So the Thunder will shoot better. It's going to go back to Loud City in Oklahoma, and it's going to be tough for Indiana, but never count the Pacers out. So it'll be interesting to see how this series kind of plays out and where things go after this pivotal game 4. And now you go into a pivotal game 5 where it does feel like, the winner of game 5 often wins the series, and the Thunder avoided that 3-1 series deficit, and they really do have home court advantage again. So the ball is back in their court. The pressure still stands, though, because they are trying to put a bow on a historic season, 68 wins by a historic average margin of victory. So we'll keep an eye on that. Game 5 of the series is on Monday, so we'll hope to get this to you before Game 5 of the series, and then Game 6 will be on Thursday, and a potential Game 7 would be on Sunday, June 22nd. So our publishing schedule will be based on how this series goes. Of course, for those of you who tuned in, just for Kyle, my apologies. I understand too. Wouldn't be mad at you. We're going to get him back here, probably episode after next. So we'll react to whoever wins the NBA title, and then look forward to the NBA draft, which is on Wednesday, June 25th, 2-day event once again with the NBA draft. So that should be a very fun time. And a lot of other things happening in the NBA. Obviously, the NBA Finals is the biggest story right now, and that will continue to be the case until we have a champion crowned, whether it is the Thunder or the Pacers. Right now, if you ask me, I think it's going to be the Thunder, but we will see how that goes. But the Kevin Durant trade saga continues, and it feels like we might have a resolution for that. So when that happens, we'll probably have a reaction, a soundbite in the moment. Are the Raptors going to be in the mix? Maybe, maybe not. But definitely if they are in the mix in that deal, we will be there to react to that and see what that is. But right now it's looking like Miami, Minnesota, San Antonio, Houston could be in talks. New York, another team that could be in talks with the Suns, trying to make a move for Kevin Durant. That the public opinion on that is all over the place as well. Kevin Durant will be 37 next season, still played at an all-NBA level this past year. Didn't play enough games to get the all-NBA nod, but he is one of the greatest scorers to ever pick up a basketball. What does that do for you in 2025-26? That remains to be seen. Houston is intriguing to me. We talked a lot about Houston needing a guy. I feel like they have the pieces that they can part ways with without interrupting or disrupting what their team does well and how their team works. So that's an intriguing spot for me. Minnesota to team him up with Anthony Edwards, who looked up to Kevin Durant throughout his career. It could be a deal that involves Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley and Dante DiVincenzo. At least that's what ESPN's Bobby Marks floated out as well. The New York situation, we'll talk about that in a second here, is intriguing for other reasons. But thinking about just how it could work out Miami, I feel like it's kind of similar to Jimmy Butler a few years ago, I guess several years ago now, when it was like, why does he want to go to Miami? It seems like a situation where winning wouldn't be in the equation. Then he got there and they quickly won. Now, Jimmy was way younger than KD is now, but still, he is Kevin Durant, and that's something to not sleep on. Spurs, sleeper, teaming up him with Victor Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle potentially, Dylan Harper if they keep that number 2 overall pick. Seems like the Spurs are trying to get a deal done without getting rid of the number 2 overall pick. And a reminder, Kevin Durant is on a 1-year deal, so he has 1 year remaining on his deal. So this could be a prove-it type situation, which is weird to say for Kevin Durant, but a team goes moderately all in to acquire him, see what it looks like. If it doesn't pan out, they move on. If it does pan out, he can maybe do something to extend his career. I don't know when he plans on stopping playing, but the way he's playing, he could play into his 40s, similar to what we've seen with LeBron James in this last act with him and the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, swinging it back to what's going on with the New York Knicks, Kyle and I definitely talked about Tom Thibodeau firing on last episode. And I remember we talked about whether or not we agreed with it. And I said, look, if they have a plan, I'm with it. I understand why they did it. Now, here we are. the dust has settled, it seems like they don't have much of a plan. They're interviewing Mike Brown and Taylor Jenkins next week. So by the time you hear this, they might have had those interviews. But the biggest storyline is that they continue to get their requests to speak with current active head coaches denied. They've asked to speak with Ime Udoka. They've asked to speak with Jason Kidd, who everybody thought Jason Kidd was going to go to New York. They've asked to speak with Chris Finch. They've asked to speak with Billy Donovan, among other head coaches that they've asked to speak with, and they've been denied each and every time. So, you think about who's out there, who's available, who's not tied to any organizations right now. Michael Malone, Mike Brown, and Taylor Jenkins, as we mentioned, there's going to be always a Mark Jackson mention in these coaching things. He did play for the Knicks, but that doesn't seem like that's a likely thing that'll happen. Johnny Bryant seemed like that was a guy who they were leaning toward, but the wind kind of came out of those sails, basically, and haven't heard much about him as well. But, the Knicks are saying they try to spin it. That, we have leverage. We're just kind of getting a feel for what's going on. And maybe they have their eye on somebody who's in the finals right now and on the coaching staff of the Pacers or the Thunder. But the difficult part about that, and the difficult part about making this job seem enticing, is that this is a franchise who just went to the NBA Finals for the first time in 25 years. And the reward for the head coach who did that, and the reward for the head coach who got this team, who was perpetually in the bottom of the Eastern Conference, back to being a contender, is that he gets fired after winning 2 games in the Eastern Conference Finals. And what that says is this job is championship or bust. And what their loss to the Pacers showed us is that that's a flawed roster, and it is not a roster capable of winning a championship, at least right now. Now, what kind of moves do they have up their sleeves this offseason? I don't know. Maybe they sell that to a coach during the process and interviewing the coach, and the coach interviewing them back. But at the same time, if I'm a head coach who's been out of the game, or I'm coaching a different organization currently, why would I want to go to this situation? In New York City, no less, the biggest media market where you're scrutinized more than anywhere else, to have an opportunity where it is championship or bust with a roster that is flawed. So keeping an eye out on that and how that plays into the Kevin Durant sweepstakes and how that plays into the offseason plans for the Knicks and these job interviews will be something to follow as well. And we'll keep up with that. Of course, the main topic will be the NBA Finals. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander 2 wins away from his first NBA title. Pascal Siakam 2 wins away from the second NBA title of his career. So it's been a classic so far. It seems like it's going to continue to be a classic as the series goes on. I feel sorry for those who didn't tune in because the markets weren't big enough. It's not too late. Tune in now. It's been great basketball, some classic games, some great finishes. Unlikely hero stepping up. Got to give a big shout out to Bennedict Mathurin for his Game 3 efforts. Game 4 was a little rough showing for him, especially down the stretch, but 27 points off the bench from him in Game 3. That's exciting for the Pacers and their future, but also exciting for the future of the Canadian national team. I'm thinking in 2028, he and Shaedon Sharpe will definitely be in the mix for the national team then. So he's showing flashes of that as well. And it's a reminder that he is a young player. The highs and lows are going to be there until he kind of gets some more experience under his belt. So to say that Shai and Andrew Nembhard and Lou Dort and Bennedict Mathurin have had big moments in this series coming into it. We talked about it, the historic number of Canadians in the series, and they're not just there. They're there and they're making a difference on both ends of the floor. And Shai's Game 4 performance is the one that we'll probably look back at if the Thunder hold on to win this series or they emerge to win this series. We'll look back at that Game 4 performance as one of his pantheon performances that really does put him in a different echelon as an NBA champion, should that be the reason that they get there. That being said, as a reminder, thank you all for finding us and subscribing to us wherever you get your podcast. Wanted to make sure we got something in the feed during the NBA Finals. We are NBA Soundsystem Canada. Cannot not have anything in your feed during the biggest series of the playoffs and the biggest time on the NBA calendar, because we go straight from the NBA Finals to the NBA Draft, right into free agency, and it's going to be a crazy offseason. Not a lot of teams have cap space, which means there will be a lot of trades. The Raptors are going to get in the mix. A lot of Canadian players could be on the move. We'll see how that plays out. So please keep it locked in with us here on NBA Soundsystem Canada. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to us on YouTube at NBA Soundsystem Canada and follow us on Instagram. Weekly episodes and bonus content throughout every week. My name is Gil McGregor. Thanks again for tuning into this special mid-NBA Finals edition of NBA Soundsystem Canada. We'll have another one, probably a post-NBA Finals episode will be the next one you get in your feed, and after that, we'll get you ready for the NBA Draft. Catch you then. Thanks for checking out NBA Soundsystem Canada on YouTube. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe below And find us wherever you get your podcasts. And on Instagram, we have weekly episodes and bonus content throughout the week.